You never know what's going to happen this time of year. Here we go again. Another emergency pod, Rosie. And this one came out of left field. Rasmus Sandin, now a member of the Washington Capitals, traded for a first-round pick, and veteran defenseman Erik Gustafsson. Your initial thoughts here?
Yeah, man, I didn't know Sandin was even in the talks. I didn't know he was on the table, but here we go again with Dubas just pulling triggers, man. I am happy with another one. I don't know if he's got these GMs by the balls or what's going on, but he just seems to be making moves left, right, and center however he wants and seems to be winning every one of them by the looks of it.
Dude, you know what my initial thought was? Justin Hull has to have something on this team, because first and foremost, I look at the lines for Mark Masters like 5 minutes before this trade goes down, and he's still in the top six. They went with Brody McCabe, Riley Hall, Giordano Liljegren, and then Sandin and Timmins. Obviously, Sandin's gone. It'll be Gustafsson in that role. And again, a lot can happen between now and 3 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. But Justin Hull survives again.
I don't know, man. I think that his price tag is just too much, but teams don't seem to be too worried about taking on extra money. Guys are retaining salary left, right, and center. So I also don't know what's going on with Hall. But in my mind right now, you get swapping Sandin for Gustafsson. I think there's more offensive upside right now this year with Gustafsson, judging on his points. He, all the offense we can take on the blue line right now, we will take it. Sandin isn't really cutting it with his $2.8 million contract. Send that down the road. Bring in Gustafsson, more veteran presence, leadership on the blue line, power play specialist. Get him in there. Only $800K they cost you. They throw in a first bloody rounder just for shits and giggles, which is a huge bonus. And then you free up $2 million to maybe, I don't know, bring in a Luke Shen or something like that, and even kind of fill out that back end even more if that's the way they're headed right now. But yeah, a total mind blower.
So for starters, I believe they saved $600K by making this trade. I do think it's a shrewd move, maybe maxing out on Rasmus Sandin, who again, I think has fallen out of favor, especially with the Jake McCabe pickup. But number two, it's the first rounder that went to Washington in the Orlov pickup for the Boston Bruins. Now it's Toronto Maple Leafs property. But yeah, it's interesting to dissect this trade. I can tell you a bit about Erik Gustafsson playing fantasy hockey. I watched quite a bit of Washington Capitals games. John Carlson has been banged up for the better part of a couple months, and Erik Gustafsson has had another really, really good season. If you do recall a couple years back with Chicago, I think he got around 60 points running the first power play unit with guys like Kane and Taves in their prime. And now he's doing it to an extent with the Capitals. You look at the numbers, 61 games played, 7 goals, 31 assists, 38 points. I wonder if they give this guy a look on PP1 and take out Riley, because it's not working with Riley, in my opinion.
It's not. He's been lackluster, to be honest. I mean, his first goal was a few weeks ago. He's supposed to be, this top 10 pick and an offensive D-man, and I just don't notice him out there. I don't notice him in a negative way, but I mean, I would sure hope I don't. He's supposed to be the franchise defenseman. He's just not quite getting it, and maybe he doesn't like being the number one guy, but you get Erik Gustafsson in there. Like you said, he's been able to work things out with the big boys in Chicago and now with Washington, and you put him on our PP1 on that blue line, and he can start setting up some big-time plays, and if he can handle that with the boys that are on that PP, really good things can happen. I think he's probably pretty excited to get here.
Yeah, I would think so. And I think at the very least, it creates more depth on the back end. Like as we see slated, Brody McCabe, Riley Hall, Giordano Liljegren in terms of a top six. So initially, I don't know if there's going to be a fit, but again, a lot can change over the next 48 to 72 hours. But I think from that perspective, you've created even more depth, something we've talked about the last couple of days, right?
Yeah, it looks that way. And I mean, I think you created more depth. You opened up cap space and you chucked in a first rounder, which is something that some people have complained we've given away to make these deals right now. It's just like something that you would just write up on paper and say, I wish I could make this happen, but it usually doesn't. And somehow Dubas is continually to check the boxes of things that the Leafs need right now, which is unbelievable, man. I can't wait for the rest of this week. I don't think they're done.
I don't either. And I think the capologists out there are stressing that the Leafs need to still free up around $500K in cap to activate Matt Murray. And again, I'm not to be, a broken drum here, but a lot can change. I mean, as we even have this conversation, they could be pulling something else off, but certainly from that perspective, there's got to be a corresponding move. It's just, it's crazy to me that, we were thinking, is it going to be, a Hall? Is it going to be a Kerfoot? Is it going to be an Engvall? I, in my wildest dreams, could never have suspected Rasmus Sandin.
Yeah, I don't even think he came across anyone's table at all. I didn't know he was even thought of. And But why not? I mean, like you say, he kind of seems to be underachieving. Maybe he ruffled some feathers holding out here at the beginning of the year and was demanding a little bit more than they thought he was worth. Finally, they got something done right at that, it was after training camp and preseason and whatnot. But I just don't think they obviously think he's worth that $2.8 million that they were reluctant to give him in the first place. And I think they're right.
So let me ask you this. You're Mr. Kem himself, and you played in the National League. Are the Leafs maybe victim of doing too much? This is always a conversation this time of year. How much tinkering is too much? What's your read on that?
Yeah, I think you could tinker maybe with Boston too much, where it's just spread out through the whole lineup. Those guys are gelling somehow, and there's definitely a balance that's just figured out, and you could throw that off. But with the Leafs this year, I mean, I think there are holes, and there's holes that the core group have noticed and have lived through and have been the victim of in the playoffs, and they all know that we need to, plug those holes with things that work and get to the promised land here and get past this hump they're on. And I think with the people they've brought in, especially like Ryan O'Reilly, I think it's only just being welcomed with open arms. That locker room is like, hey, we're doing stuff here. This is starting to feel special. And, so far the changes they've made have only been positive on the ice. So there's no reason to think that won't continue. I don't think they have some magical chemistry going on right now that's going to get interrupted by this trade. I think that all the guys in the room are going to understand that this team only just got better in the last couple of weeks.
So lastly, in a perfect world, Rosie, if you're the GM of this team, and obviously there's a salary cap world and we're living in it, and they still have to free up some money, what's the one last piece that you're looking to do business with? Is it a Luke Shen? Is it a right-hand defenseman? Is it D in general? Would you look at a forward? Obviously, they got to make something happen here.
Yeah, I like the way they rounded out their bottom six. I'm pleased with
Yeah.
that. The defense looks like we just got better, but it could be just a kind of an even trade. The biggest thing to me is, opening up a little bit of cap space, and then the first rounder is a bonus. But I think like that nice, solid playoff experienced defenseman, veteran guy, a Luke Shen type guy, if they could insert him again for 800 grand, I think if they get him and they go on a run and good things happen, you look back and you're like, Gustafsson and Shen both cost us
Yeah.
together 1.6 mil. It'd be laughable. And I think that could round out their back end quite a bit. And then all of a sudden it's like there's not a whole lot of question marks in this whole roster.
Well, this one certainly came out of left field, but we are here to bring you the very latest at the Leafs Nation 401, where you can follow along on YouTube. That's Jay Rosehill. I'm Nick Alberga. Thanks so much for listening and watching.